Welcome back, everyone. We have heard from Democrat Gay Valamont, now her Republican opponent, Jimmy Patronis. He's 52 years old, from Panama City, where his family runs the Captain Anderson restaurant. He's been a state representative, served on the Florida Public Service Commission, and since 2017 has been the state's chief financial officer. All right, Jimmy, well, you had a fantastic showing in the Republican primary. To have 10 people and to get about 2/3 of the vote is tremendous. How much do you attribute that to the endorsement you had from President Trump?
Oh, a considerable amount. Look, I love the state of Florida. I love Northwest Florida. I'm born and raised in the Central Time Zone, been here my whole life. So I feel like I know this part of the state, and I feel this part of the state knows me. But President Trump had just gotten off a massive win in November, and so that awareness definitely contributed to our success, and I'm grateful and looking forward to helping turn this country around. So winning the people's trust was a big deal for us.
He kind of handpicked you, to a certain degree, to run for this job, and that makes some people worried that your fidelity is to him and not to the people of Northwest Florida or to the Constitution. How would you respond to that?
No, that's ridiculous. I mean, so you can just go back and look at my service to the citizens of the state of Florida. I picked the fights that the citizens of the state of Florida would want me to pick the fight with. And I question absurdity. I do not like reckless spending. And look, some of these are the exact same things President Trump is questioning and bringing to light right now. So again, I don't hide from people. If somebody wants to find me, it's pretty easy to find me, and I hope they will hold me accountable if I earn their trust for their vote.
What do you think the role of Congress is as an equal branch of government? Again, people are concerned that Republicans in Congress have kind of abdicated a lot of power here to President Trump. You've got the Senate, you have the House, you can do whatever you want through the normal mode, and it seems like a lot of it has just been turned over to the executive. Are you concerned about that?
No, so here's, you gotta look at the margins. Right now there's literally a 1-seat majority in the House of Representatives. So literally with a flip of a coin, we're keeping this thing together. There's going to be decisions that are not going to be taken up until after April 1st. And I'm sure the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is hoping that CD1 and CD6 both break Republican. So he's got a little bit of a breathing room just to be able to do some of the things that they want to accomplish. But in the margins they're in right now, they've got a Senate, they can make things happen. In the House, it's tight. And I'm looking forward to being up there and making a difference so we can do exactly what you're saying.
And if the issue called for it, you would go against the president? Do you see a scenario where that would happen ever?
Look, I think it all depends on, I'm not big on hypotheticals. You can say, well, would you vote on this bill? Well, I've got to read the bill first. So it really depends on the circumstances. If President Trump was going to create some type of an argument that we needed to have massive base closures here in Northwest Florida, I couldn't be with him. But again, I don't think President Trump sees that as part of his agenda. I see, his agenda is he wants to put inflation to rest. He wants to help people manage their household budgets so they can afford it again. There's so many things that I'm excited about. But again, I think Northwest Florida also has those same hopes and wishes that the president does, and like I have.
What are your overall thoughts about the first couple of months of the Trump presidency?
Oh, so far so good. I think there's been a lot brought to light that needed to be brought to light. And whether you're a fan of Elon Musk or not, he has questioned different agencies and how their utilization of different dollars that have been spent on behalf of the citizens of the state of Florida and also the federal taxpayers. So again, those are good questions to ask. And I tend to be of the mindset where I like asking questions myself. So the more information we get out, the better. Transparency is the absolute best disinfectant.
In your job right now, you do a certain amount of auditing, for example. And we had those in a lot of the government agencies in Washington that have been kind of taken out now. Are you concerned about that? I mean, shouldn't you look at a professional audit and make decisions based on that instead of just coming in and say, hey, X number of people here need to go?
Well, I think some of this created some real shock value, but here's something that a lot of people don't realize. Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., and President Trump are lockstep on one issue, for sure. They want people back to work. They want them back in the offices. She wants a thriving economy in Washington, D.C. The president wants people back in the office so we can watch the performance and check their productivity. So again, I think where we're going with that direction of getting people back into work, yeah, it may be a little bit of a shock that you need to send me an email telling me what you're doing for this week, but what's wrong with responding to that email?
What do you think about President Trump's proposed tariffs? When we talk about inflation was one of the reasons that he got elected, a lot of economists say this is going to be inflationary for sure, and a lot of people are living on a tight margin.
Sure.
So what are your thoughts about that?
I think this is where one of President Trump's strengths are, is his ability to negotiate. And he'll look at the circumstances, he will flex, he will threaten, he will posture, and at some point then he will stick to his word and roll out whatever initiative is that he feels is in the best interests of America. It's no different than what we had going on in NATO for how many years, and none of the European NATO members are paying their fair share. Well, why should we be footing the bill for everybody in Europe in order to maintain the peace of mind and freedom that they have? So again, I appreciate where he has made others spend money, because I know this, when you look at how much money's been dumped in Ukraine, God bless them what they're going through. I'm glad it's not here, it's over there. But when you look at what's taking place in North Carolina or Georgia and Florida with hurricane recovery, we're dumping billions of dollars in Ukraine and we're not even taking care of our own people. That's a priority that we need to be questioning. And I appreciate that the president's trying to create some sense of repayment, whether it be through minerals, rare earths, you name it, to hold the citizens of the United States harmless financially.
You brought up Ukraine. Did Russia invade Ukraine? Is Russia responsible for what's going on over there?
I think Putin wants to restore the old boundaries of the Soviet Union. I think there's politics and personalities in play over there that are not what we see here in Northwest Florida. So look, with Putin leveraging, I think what you saw is he saw vulnerability in the way the United States was going to react if Putin decided to make the move that he did. We had a debacle in our evacuation of Afghanistan. We had other things that we have done around the world that showed weakness that we weren't going to engage. So I think Putin said, you know what, I might as well go ahead and take this my best shot while we got a weak president in place. And that's exactly what he did when Biden was in the administration.
Going back a little bit to some of the job cuts that we've talked about, they want to cut, or there's talk about cutting 80,000 people out of the Veterans Administration. I'm sure one of the things you hear about on the campaign trail is how inefficient the VA is. There aren't enough resources. You've got a lot of veterans in this district. Should we be chopping the VA at all?
Well, I think part of where Secretary Collins is going with this is trying to get resources in to provide services. So however he's coming to the math on this, I have not sat down to ask him, but he is looking at the services need to be provided. Well, you have to pay for the services. So this is a way, I'm sure he's seeing dollars to be able to flow in, especially if you've got remote working and not actually having face-to-face interaction with those beneficiaries or those clients that need the services.
What is your priority list in terms of capital investment maybe for our local military installations? What are the big needs there in your opinion?
So for years I was on the Florida Defense Task Force, and so the state of Florida realizes how important the military economy is. So the state of Florida steps up, and with our own resources, our own taxpayers' dollars, we try to protect and harden those installations from the outside. So we'll do a strength analysis to make sure that those installations are getting what they need and that the federal government is acknowledging and noticing what we're doing as a state of Florida. So, I will continue to work hand in hand with the state of Florida to make sure the missions that we have here in Florida stay in Florida, and we take advantage of those logistical advantages we have, like things like the Gulf Range that exist here that don't live in the middle of Kansas.
What have been your biggest accomplishments as CFO and in your public life before that?
So I tell people we're in the best fiscal health we've ever been in the history of the state of Florida. I take that with a lot of pride. It's not a sprint, it's a march. And so every day that I'm in office, I tell people I like to get into the office early, I like staying late, I like grinding. I'm not a show horse, I'm a workhorse. So, some days I'm a county commissioner, some days I'm a mayor, some days I'm CFO, but people call Jimmy for all their problems. And I tell my employees all the time, in the restaurant business, if you don't take care of the customer, somebody else will. It doesn't work that way in Tallahassee, but I tell my coworkers all the time, if you don't take care of the customer, I'm going to find somebody else that will. I believe in having a government that is responsive and effective to the citizens that we serve. So sometimes my employees get phone calls on Saturday nights, Sunday mornings. Whenever somebody calls Jimmy Patronis for a problem, I start working on it. And it's where I feel like my greatest accomplishment is just my effectiveness to the people I get to serve.
I'll let you respond to some of the criticisms against you, okay?
Sure.
All right, Jimmy Patronis didn't do anything for homeowners, and he's in the pocket of insurance.
So in 2022, we didn't have one, but we had 2 special sessions in order to turn around the insurance market in Florida. We had a problem. We had a man-made problem that we were challenged to try to repair. So we're storm prone in the state of Florida. I can't change when Mother Nature decides to come visit. I can't change interest rates. I can't change inflation. So you had 2 problems that were being driven by the federal government with an inept administration that seemed that inflation was just okay to pass along. Those are the 2 biggest cost drivers when it comes to your insurance premium. What have we done in Florida? My office administers the My Safe Florida Home Program. We've pushed out over $600 million in grants. The average participant has seen a $1,000 reduction in their premium cost. In some cases, like for citizens, if you're a citizens policyholder, that was about a 46% reduction in your premiums. But you got to participate in the program. You got to harden your home, and we're working with you. When you do that, that forces Florida statutes on the insurance companies to drop your insurance rates. So again, I tell people, it's not happening in Texas, not happening in Louisiana, not happening in California. Florida is the only state where you had 10 new carriers and you've had 11 asked for rate reductions, 18 asked for no rate increase last year alone.
Another big criticism, Jimmy Patronis doesn't live in the district. What does he know about Escambia County, for example?
So I have lived in Congressional District 1 for 28 years of my life. I've lived in Congressional District 2 for 16 years of my life. I've lived in the Central Time Zone my whole entire life. I tell people the rest of Florida doesn't even know we have a Central Time Zone. Okay, so the people of Northwest Florida, I've been fortunate to serve them publicly for the last 10 years, whether it be on the Public Service Commission or the last 8 as your CFO. And I've been grateful for the last 2 elections that I've won in 18 and in 22, where I won every county in Congressional District 1.
Polls will open tomorrow at 7 a.m., close at 7 p.m. If you have an absentee ballot, make sure it gets postmarked by tomorrow or it won't be counted. Thank you for watching. We hope you've learned a little more about the candidates tonight, and we'll go vote tomorrow.